Well, happy Friday, fellow Texans. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I know, it's Friday. Let's go. Let's go. I have a great show lined up for you. Then I'm going to go play with kiddos for about 48 hours. And then when you come back and get ready for, calm down, y'all. Come on, I got 3 hours. Give me some time here. The James Show's going on the road again. I'm doing a live remote broadcast if you want to come out and see the show live. I mean, there's not a whole lot to see. Garrett will still be here. Or this Garrett will still be here. Another Garrett will be with me out at the Las Colinas Country Club for the Mullen and Mullen Golf Classic. And it's to raise charity for the Scottish Rite Hospital and some other good causes. But come out, say hi, see me peck around on my laptop. I'll be wearing an awkward headset, probably sweating a little bit. That's all right. It's always a good time. I love doing remotes. But take some selfies. You know, like in previous generations, I think my mom and dad used to, when they met notable people, would ask for autographs. No one asks for autographs anymore, and that's fine. You don't want an autograph. You want a selfie is what you want. So come on out. Las Colinas Country Club. I'll be out there for the Mullen and Mullen Golf Tournament, broadcasting live from 2 to 5. It's one of the rare times when we get out and about. And then also on Monday, I'll be announcing where we're having the next James Show listener meetup. Another thing, coming up later in the show, I'm going to cover this in more detail, but for those of you who aren't going to stick around, the Texas legislative session is over. It's the worst performing legislative session of your entire life. We'll talk to Brian Harrison about it, the state rep from Midlothian, who's been keeping an eye on it. But one popular thing that we've put together that's been resonating with a lot of people is the Rhino map. Brian Harrison and we put together the list of the Republicans who turn and vote with the Democrats on like keeping your property taxes high and not giving you school choice and not doing anything about border security. So many of your priorities got completely ignored this session. We made a list and a map. So if you don't know what district you're in or who your guy is on the list, you can look at the map. And if you live in the district, it has a number on it that corresponds with the list next to it. And so you know if you have some work to do in the primary that's just going to start happening next year. So if you want the Rhino list, go ahead and just ask me for it, a Facebook message or email, james@wbap.com. Also, in just a community quick hit here, the Stars are doing that cool thing where they put the screen on the game on the big screen at the American Airlines Center. Our studios are at the American Airlines Center, and they have a giant jumbotron that's like 4 times the size of the side of your house over there. And they play the games now on it. They did this last year during the playoffs. They don't do it during the regular season. It's not the same. During the playoffs, like last night, I came out here for a little bit after work. Man, they had it set up. They had a couple of bars, like portable bars. Now, you can't just walk down the street with your beer, but when you're hanging out in PNC Plaza, they had food, they had drinks. You got to bring your own lawn chair. They had a DJ that was playing music and talking to the crowd during the commercial breaks. And it was more packed than it ever was last year. I took some video of it last night, and there might have been 1,000 people that were crammed into this little plaza. And you know what? It's your favorite word, free. All right, all the fun stuff's out of the way. By the way, the next game's tomorrow at 7 o'clock. I won't be here, but if you're looking for something to do that's free with your kiddos, it's kind of awesome. All right, fun's over. WFAA has the story of another Texas teacher who can't behave.
For my mom, Paulette.
And for my mom, Phinia.
For my husband, Helmet. Honor someone you love by learning the warning signs of stroke.
What? That's not. Did I leave the ad in there too? I'm an idiot. Hang on.
From Kennedale Police
there it is.
About their kid's substitute teacher.
I panicked, with so much going on in public schools.
For somebody like me, I panicked. Like, it was an awful feeling.
Kennedale Police arrested Ashley Evans on 2 misdemeanors of displaying harmful material to minors. Todd's 14-year-old son is in the same class as Baker's 14-year-old daughter. They are students at Kennedale Junior High School, where on April 7th, they say substitute Evans pulled out her cell phone, showed the class sexually explicit photos and videos during an X-rated conversation.
Disturbed because you have to be mentally ill and a very perverted, sick person.
Agreed. So now we have another local teacher in trouble for showing kids obscene material. But here's an interesting angle. Not that I support this. Obviously, I don't support this, but just to kind of, pull on some chains here. Is this any worse than is what in some of the books that moms want to ban in the library? Haven't you been paying attention to all the moms and dads that go to school boards and they get kicked out for trying to read the incredibly explicit content that's in the books that are available to their minor children? And I don't mean like high school kids. This is in middle school and elementary schools. And it's not an LGBT thing. I don't care if it's gay, trans, or straight. We don't need to be showing pornographic, titillating sexual content to children. Point blank. Period. End of story. And it follows the James Shows Walmart parking lot rule. If you can't legally show it to a kid who's just walking through the Walmart parking lot, it shouldn't be in a kid's library. It shouldn't be in a school. Now, yes, this teacher deserves to get fired. What the hell are you thinking showing kids obscene material on your phone? But we all agree that's wrong, right? Well, then how is it okay if you put similar material in a book and stick it in the library? How is that not damaging to kids? How is that not criminal? How is that completely acceptable in the court of public opinion or in the court of woke opinion? But we have a real problem here in Texas schools. I tell you about bad teachers at least once a week around here. And I just focus on Texas schools. I'm not cherry picking. Oh, look, that there was a bad teacher in Ohio. Oh, look, there was a misbehaving teacher in Idaho. But it's not just the teachers either. This week, actually yesterday, a McKinney ISD employee in the IT department, not a teacher, but he works there. He has access to every campus in the McKinney ISD. He was booked in Collin County yesterday for indecency with a child. There's a school resource officer, the SROs in Louisville ISD. It was just announced this week that he's under investigation for an improper relationship with a student. Also, just this week, a lunch lady in San Antonio was arrested for doing a kid in the kitchen closet as a high school boy. But we got a real problem when you have the school resource officer, the IT department, even the lunch lady, on top of all the teachers going after your kids. We have a real problem of kids being abused in Texas schools. So 2 questions for you. Why isn't this a bigger story? And what can be done about it? You'll hear my answer to both of those questions next, but if you got some answers for me, I'm all ears. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. 800-288-9227 if you have a comment on the terrible record we have. I call it an epidemic. We have an epidemic of teachers and school employees abusing your children in Texas schools. Jennifer writes over here on X/Twitter, I love your radio show. I listen to you every day on the way home, so thank you so much, James. I'm not scaring you off with all this horrible stories about teachers abusing kids. That's one of the things I worry about. If this is a happy-go-lucky show, would my ratings go up, or do you want to hear the ugly truth? Because this goes on and has been going on, and I don't think the internet has created these monsters. I think the internet has exposed these monsters. This has been going on for your entire life. Now, we used to not have, before the internet came around, you would hear, oh, yeah, you hear the rumors about so-and-so, or, in my school, it was Miss Whitaker. Just naming names. But this is something the internet exposed, not created. And it's something we all suspected, and we've heard stories about, and we kind of joked about it. It's not comfortable, and you have enough stuff on your plate to worry about with your family and your jobs and everything else that's going on, keeping up with your bills, that you don't want to have to add this to your list of concerns here. But how bad does it have to be before we get a little fired up about it? Because my first question is, why isn't this a bigger news story? Why is it that I can come in here and every single week, almost every day, I can tell you about a teacher abusing one of your kids here in Texas? Again, just in Texas. I'm not reaching all the way to Montreal for a bad teacher story. This is in Texas. Why isn't this a bigger story? And the second part of that is what can be done about it. And, this is one of the confounding things as someone who is in the media. When I look at my other media partners here, people who do this weird selective reporting, How is this not a bigger deal? How is this not a raging story? But you got so much of the country whipped up over George Floyd and police killing innocent, unarmed black men. You know how often that happens every year? The year we had the George Floyd riots, the year before, the last number we had statistics for, the number was 19. So if y'all think it's such an egregious problem that you got to go burn down the neighborhoods in dozens of major American cities over 19 acts, well, what is this? Because we've got about 200 that are listed in the last 3 years on TexasScorecard.com in their bad apple section. What do you think? 800-288-9227. This is Kyle in McKinney. You're on WBAP. Your thoughts?
James, I live in McKinney, and I also follow Texas Scorecard. I actually just spoke to them yesterday because I'm a children advocate. There's been 76 incidents reported this year already by them. There was 100 last year reported by them. We're going to way surpass what we had. And the reason this is not getting addressed is, number one, complacency by a lot of parents. Number two, you've got administrators that when I go to speak at board meetings, I get laughed at for talking about this and trafficking and brothels and everything else going on. I just get laughed at. We've got schools that have immunity from having anything happen to them. They get these high salaries, and that's what happens. They don't want it. They don't want it out. They don't want the image of their city tarnished or their school district tarnished.
Yeah, and that's something good to point out. These people aren't actually, the masochists. They're not monsters who enjoy seeing kids abused, but it just benefits them if it gets swept under the rug because, they like their cushy little job and they don't want the negative PR that comes with it. And this could be an impediment to their next career step. So your solutions, Kyle, we just have to get more involved. We have to go to more school board meetings. How do we fix this?
We have to raise our voices. We have to raise our voices peacefully, but I run into people every day that are clueless about what's happening in the schools and in the churches. And, I tell people every day, talk to your coworkers, your family, your churches, your pastors. And I will tell you that sadly, many churches, many places of businesses, many community leaders, they don't want to hear it. When I meet with them, they like it goes right over their head and they just change the subject. They don't want to talk about it. So hold your elected officials accountable, get in their face peacefully, and make them hear what you have to say about this. Our children are being sought out by predators, and you're right. This is a epidemic that the internet has exposed, and every single day it's getting worse and worse.
Kyle, I think I'm guilty of some of this, the points you were making there. I don't like to think about it. I don't like to talk about it. A lot of times if someone's bringing this up on the weekend, I would prefer to change the subject. And part of it is, my little my bias here is this didn't happen to me. This never happened in my school, well, except for Miss Whitaker. And so I don't want to think about this as like could be happening to my kids or whatever. But
I would like to tell you one thing. One of our granddaughters, we have 7 grandkids. One of our granddaughters was approached in a Walmart in Gun Barrel City last Saturday evening by another older female. And thank God she knew what to do. She had an adult in the store with her, but not at the moment. But this woman tried to keep getting closer and closer to her, asking her age, who she was with, where's her mother. And she went to grab her arm, and our granddaughter ran away. Is in freaking Gun Barrel City.
In the GBC. You're scaring the crap out of me, Kyle, but I think we need to hear this. I think we need to face some of this ugly stuff. Appreciate it. And thank you for your advocacy, Kyle.
Thank you.
All right. So here's what I think can be done about it. And I know this is going to sound like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, or James, that's too far, or that's not going to work. I think the number one thing we can do is in public schools. Now, hear me out. First, let's call them what they are. It's not public schools. It's socialized schools. They took something that was previously done in the private sector. Government took it over. And now instead of citizens and clients choosing their schools and what rate they're going to pay and what exchange they're going to get and what curriculum is on the table, it's now they tax you. They take the money from you by force just because you happen to own land. And then they get to control the curriculum. They get to control the hiring. They get to control all the standards and the testing and whatnot. And one of the inherent problems with socializing any industry is now the government is not supposed to be a participant in the game. The government is supposed to be a referee between the clients and the business, the people and the corporations or the businesses out there or other people. And now if you have government employees, here's what schools are. Teachers are. Teachers are government employees in government buildings on government land getting a government check. And who's supposed to keep them in check? Who's supposed to be the impartial arbiter of right and wrong? Other government employees in other government buildings getting other government checks. And now you have the government who's responsible for what? Punishing itself? That doesn't work. That doesn't work well at all. That's what socialism has taught us about every industry. Every time you social any industry, you run into this strange lack of enforcement. It's a weird feedback loop that is a race to the bottom. All right. Yeah, I know. We got to take a break. If you want to be next, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'll continue on what can be done about the epidemic of kids being abused in Texas schools coming up next on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, homeowners, how long have you had your roof? Do you even know how old your roof is? I got to admit, I don't know how old my roof is. I bought the house I'm in now 3 years ago, and I'm sure it's somewhere in the paperwork, but I don't know. I really don't. I don't. And so you know what I'm going to do? We talked to John this morning. John's going to come out and he's going to inspect my house. He's going to inspect the old Parker compound. I wish I lived on a compound, but it's not going to take much time. He says it's maybe an hour. All I got to do is set aside a time for someone to meet him, or, he could send another inspector, but I think John's going to come this time. And I'm going to go through the process and I'll report back to you just how quick and easy it is. Because number one, it's the first thing, free. Just remember it's free. There's no downside to calling. The only thing that can happen is you catch a problem with your roof before it explodes into something bigger. With no downside. So go to blueribbondfw.com. Do what I did. Go to blueribbondfw.com. And of course, if there is a big problem and I need a new roof, I'm going to tell John that I heard it on my show and I'll get a free ridge vent ventilation upgrade. Go to blueribbondfw.com. Well, hey there. Happy Friday. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm sorry. There's a lot of national headlines going on right now, but this local stuff, this affects you, your kids, your grandkids. Kennedale teacher's in trouble. Got herself arrested for showing obscene photos and videos to the kids in her classroom as a substitute teacher. This is in Kennedale. For people who are new to the area, it's like just south of Fort Worth, between Fort Worth and Mansfield. But you probably don't know where Mansfield is either. But this is an epidemic. In fact, if I do a quick cursory search on school employees in public schools in Texas, 4 of them this week. 4 this week. What do we do about it? 800-288-9227. Before I was so rudely interrupted by commercials. No, they're important. I was making the case that if you in public schools, you take away a huge incentive here, or really disincentive. And it's the problem that you have anytime you socialize any industry. You create really perverse incentives. And the best example, you don't even have to be an Austrian economist to understand this. You know that after World War II, we took Germany, which was, if not one of the most developed, advanced, progressive nations, and I don't mean progressive in the American sense, I mean as far as progress goes, nations in the world, split it in half. Left side capitalist, right side socialism. And what happened? We'll look at one industry, the auto industry. West Germany started to come out with awesome stuff. You know, Porsche, Mercedes, BMW. What did East Germany come up with? Well, they socialized their auto industry, so they had one company. It was called the Trabant. Have you ever seen a Trabant? Do you know what a Trabant is? Did you see the movie Spy Game? Robert Redford, Brad Pitt, 2001. Remember that? There's this scene in East Germany where Brad Pitt's driving a Trabant. Yeah, that nasty little thing. Looks like it's not even a golf cart worthy. It was a terrible car. Absolutely god-awful. But it was the same people making it as the ones in West Germany who are making the greatest cars the world has ever known. The highest in, most reliable, best engineered luxury vehicles. What would you rather have, a Beamer or a Trabant? You'd rather have a Beamer. So why? Why did you have such a different outcome from the same group of people, same background, same education, same culture? The only thing different was the economy. It's all about the incentives. It doesn't matter how bad the Trabant vehicle performed. They were not going to go out of business. They were socialized. It didn't matter if their customers liked it or not. They didn't have another choice. No matter how bad the product was. So now you have the same thing with socialized schools. No incentive to prevent abuse. Why? It doesn't matter how many kids get abused at Kennedale ISD. They're still going to be in business tomorrow. In fact, they're still going to be clocking that money out of your escrow at the end of the month. They're not going to lose one student. They may have a couple of people say, well, I'm going to homeschool my kids. That doesn't matter. They're not going to lose a cent, even if you do homeschool your kids. They're still going to get the exact same amount of tax money. So what's their incentive to not do it? There's not one. If it was a private school, people would pull their kids out of school and they would lose money. See, if you have a private school and you move your kids away, you lose money. In fact, if you lose enough kids, you go out of business. So if this happens on your watch in a private school, this could be the end of your livelihood and the end of the institution altogether. There's incentives to stop it. It's socialized schools. We call them public schools, but they are socialized schools. No incentive to stop it. 800-288-9227. Let's go to Carolyn. Carolyn in Dallas, you're on WBAP. What do you think we should do?
You know, I guess my first answer would be we need more parental involvement. And now this generation, the parents are younger, the teachers are younger, and these students are looking older. And sex is everywhere. Sex is everything.
Well, listen.
Everything
I think your heart's in the right place, but I would push back on some of that. Parents these days are older than they used to be, and the kids these days are actually younger in their heads than they used to be.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Okay, so
but the reason why I say the parents are younger. For example, my son is 42. His second child is graduating. Anyway, in just a few days. And so that's a young parent because I'm a young grandmother.
Right, but my mom had me and my sister at 18, me at 20, and she was done. And the statistics back that up. People are waiting longer to have kids, and the average age of parents these days are older than they were 30 years ago.
Okay, but the kids that we're talking about that are being abused in school, that age now, the parents are younger. And here's another reason why. Because these kids, my kids go to an all black school.
On purpose?
Yes, because that's the district. But listen, the little pep rally cheerleader girls and pep squad girls, they dance like strippers in the making.
See, now we're back on the same page. I think one of the problems we have in modern society is how hypersexualized everything has become, even for kids. And that's part of the whole library book discussion that we were having earlier too. All right, Carolyn, I'm out of time, but that was a great call. Thank you very much. That's Carolyn in Dallas. Round of applause for touching on an ugly, ugly subject here. Guys, I appreciate you calling in, but I'm going to have to move on because coming up next, we have my least favorite guest of 2025. State Representative Brian Harrison is going to be on to tell you about the worst Texas legislative session of your entire life. It's now over, and Brian's going to tell you how bad you got screwed next on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, happy Friday. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. My next guest has been waiting us through. It's been our unfortunate guide through what is the worst session in the Texas House of Representatives history. Well, in your lifetime, at least. Welcome back, Brian Harrison, Republican from Midlothian. So it's over. Finally, all the pain is over. Give me a quick recap. What priorities got accomplished for the voters of Texas this session?
Well, so we technically have 3 weeks left where we can pass some Senate bills, but the deadline came and went at midnight last night. It was the last night that the House can pass bills that originated in the House. So all of my bills, for example, I had 70, small government pro-liberty bills, they were all dead. But the good news is I can talk to you and I have some energy today because unlike the Democrats, I did not stay up all night celebrating because they were the big winners. While Texas voted for Trump, the Democrats control the Texas House. They were the big winners. Let's talk about some of the priorities that the Texas House passed ahead of the Republican Party priorities, like, for example, getting rid of property taxes. So what did the Texas House prioritize? And of course, I mean, it goes without saying Beyonce and Zoroastrianism and Pakistan Day, but you know about all that. So here's the other things the Texas House prioritized. All right, everybody ready for this? They prioritized protecting ESG. They prioritized keeping taxpayers in Texas being forced to fund DEI. Taxpayers will continue funding the LGBTQ agenda in our public universities. We are giving hundreds of millions of dollars to liberal Hollywood. And while you, the hardworking men and women of the state of Texas, do not get real property tax relief, don't worry, woke multinational companies who are moving here from California will barely pay any property taxes at all. So those are the types of things that were prioritized in the Texas House. And don't forget the big spending liberals down here, rhinos. We passed a budget that instead of cutting spending, which is what Trump's trying to do, no. The Texas House passed a budget that will represent a 42% increase in state funds just from 2 budget cycles ago. And you know what that means? Instead of putting our state on a path to eliminate property taxes, we have put our state on a path to double government in the next 7 years or less. And yes, we can make all the jokes about Beyonce, and Lord knows I do. But this is deadly serious. If we do not turn course now and start acting in a way the voters of Texas deserve and demand to prioritize their liberties, their freedoms, I hate to break it to you, but the Democrats on the House floor last night were literally doing the wave. There's video, leaked footage from the House floor. They're doing dance circles. I'm not making this up. They're celebrating. And you know why? Because Texas is right now officially, we are on a path to becoming California. When I want Texas to be the #1 state in America for freedom and liberty, but we have been co-opted by the same coalition in Austin that fought me and fought President Trump when I was up there for him in the first term. It's fighting President Trump now, the Democrats, the liberal media, and the perhaps worst of all, weak, rhino, fake establishment liberal Republicans. The Austin Uniparty controls the joint. They're liberal, and they are hell-bent on turning our state into California. And I hate to tell you this, if you're listening to me right now on WBAP and the James Parker Show, if you pay your taxes and you work hard and you went to the ballot box and you did your job and you voted for Republicans in Austin, the reality is those Republicans probably, odds are good, because most of them did, turned their back on you, betrayed your values, and empowered liberal Democrats and then colluded with them to destroy liberty. That's the update with 3 weeks left to go in session. And James, I wish I had a more positive update for you, brother, but Texans deserve the truth.
Any chance there's going to be property tax relief in some form that gets through the Senate now?
So I don't have a crystal ball, but let me go ahead and make a prediction, James, and I will be the first person and the happiest person if I'm wrong about this. I believe, because Texans are blowing up the doors and the phones and the emails down here because they're being taxed out of their homes. I mean, the never-ending property taxes are immoral. Texans have worked for properties they've had in their generations, and the government's taken them from them to fund Joe Biden's agenda, and they're furious. So people realize they got to do something. Here's what I predict. I predict over the next week or two, you will hear the announcement of some great new, bigger, bolder, better property tax relief. But what it's probably going to be, because right now they're talking $3 to $6 billion of relief, which is nowhere near enough. They'll probably announce, hey guys, we heard you. We're going to give you relief, and we're upping our package to around $10 billion. That's my guess. Maybe they'll go higher, 10 to 15. But guess what? It is almost certain to be through Washington fuzzy math and budget gimmicks. And the reality is, unless something changes big, just about everyone's property tax bills are going to go up after this session. It's outrageous. So I hope I'm wrong, but I predict a fake big announcement on property taxes within the next 1 to 2 weeks. But we will have to stay tuned for that.
All right, we're talking with State Rep Brian Harrison about the conclusion of the House of Representatives session in Austin. And another concern I have, more from a PR standpoint, is like you said, they're probably going to come out and say, yeah, we did property tax cuts. It's not really a property tax cut. The school choice bill, they said, oh, we got school choice done, but only 1% of kids in Texas qualify for it. So if in 2 years or 4 years, when the scores aren't doing better and schools are still having problems, we run the risk of them being able to say, well, we tried school choice and it didn't work. No, we never really tried it. This bill is not what the people wanted.
No, so here's another prediction. They will come out and they will gaslight Texans and they'll say, we passed every Republican Party priority. But the way they did it is the way Joe Biden would do it if he was forced to pass it. So, for example, one of their priorities was ban Democrat committee chairs. Well, okay, so they technically took the title away from Democrats. They stopped calling them chairmen. But now they gave them co-chairmanships of every single committee, and Barack Obama's staffer got a promotion to be the chief parliamentary officer of the House. So they do our priorities in a way that on the surface looks like they adhered to what the Republican voters wanted, but they actually did it in a way that gives Democrats more power. And school choice is a perfect example. I support school choice because of competition will improve all of the schools, including the public schools and the charter schools. But the way we did it, the public schools are likely to get worse, not better. And people are out here saying it was a universal program, but only 1% of kids are going to get it. And one last point, since last night was the bill deadline, even though Speaker Burrows put 165 bills yesterday on the final day, 165 Democrat bills. He clogged up the calendar with 165 Democrat bills so that mathematically we could never get to any of the Republican priority bills. And I'll just give you one example.
Brian, let me just hit pause. Can you stick with us for another segment?
You got it.
All right. I'll let you continue right there. We just got to get moving. We're talking with State Rep Brian Harrison, and I'm going to go into, okay, this session was a bust. How do we make sure the next session's better? And then also I got to remind you the countdown is on. On May 21st, you can get $30 tickets to some great concerts through livenation.com. I'm talking about Dirk Bentley, Simple Minds, Slightly Stupid, Kesha. Go to livenation.com/ticket to summer for more information, or you can just email me and I'll send you the link later. We continue with Brian Harrison, the state rep from Midlothian, next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Happy Friday, fellow Texans. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. We continue with my guest, speaking of Midlothian, the state representative from the Midlothian District, Representative Brian Harrison's back on. You put a video on Twitter/X, whatever we're calling it these days, last night at midnight to a bunch of cheering, and it was for all the wrong reasons. Explain that one.
Well, it was one of the most surreal moments of my life. Can anybody listening have they ever heard of conservative Republicans celebrating if they were members of the California General Assembly? Have you ever heard of Republican lawmakers celebrating in the New York legislature? You never hear of such things because Democrats control those legislative bodies. Texas is the only legislative body in America that lets the minority party run the chamber. Texas voted for 14 points for Donald Trump, but Joe Biden's team was put in charge of the Texas House. And so when the clock struck midnight, that was the death knell for literally thousands of Republican bills that were put behind hundreds of Democrat bills. So if you're driving to or from work right now, or if you're at your job working hard, the Texas government says thank you because we need your money because the Democrats write the budget in the state of Texas, and so we need you to work harder to make more money to give to us in taxes so that we can fund, DEI and transgender ideology and corporate welfare. And basically every priority just about of the Biden administration is being funded down here in the Texas House budget. And what it means is, and why the Democrats were quite literally dancing and singing songs and cheering, they were doing the wave. I'm not making this up. Democrat lawmakers were doing the wave, like at a baseball game, like they just won the World Series, because they knew they had taken Texas taxpayers for a ride and duped the supposed Republican leadership down here. And this is just the real problem. We've got to have leadership in Austin that puts Texas taxpayers first. We have to have leadership in Austin that is willing to say, I'm going to be hated, reviled, and unpopular in the Austin swamp. I'm going to be willing to let the media write nasty pieces about me because I will never forget that I work for 30 million Texans, and my only job is to protect the blessings of liberty that past generations paid the ultimate price for. But instead, we've got a bunch of liberal uniparty establishment hack Republicans down here willing to sell out the next generation for comfort and adoration in the liberal Austin swamp. And I've had it. And it's why I'm posting things like I do on my Twitter feed and my X feed, because for far too many years, Texans have voted for Republicans, had those Republicans come down to Austin behind closed doors and sell them out, and then they've never known any better because those elected officials come home and lie to them. And I joke that transparency is like kryptonite in the swamp, and that's why I think my Twitter feed and my X feed, which by the way is at Brian E. Harrison, I think my Twitter feed is the most hated thing in the Capitol. I've never been yelled at or cussed at about more things than my Twitter feed on the floor of the Texas House, because they know that they're pulling a fast one on the voters of Texas, and they can't stand being exposed for it. So we are, unfortunately, instead of putting our state on a path to be the number one state in America for freedom and liberty and low government and secure borders and election integrity and getting rid of property taxes,
all right, Brian,
we're on a path to become California.
Let's talk about what we can do about it. State Rep Brian Harrison from Midlothian. We got to primary some of these guys out. You and I put a list together. I share it out on Twitter every once in a while. When you post, I'll usually comment on it. Help me get that out. But how easy or maybe difficult will it be to primary these guys out of office?
It's very hard, because the liberal special interest will give them literally millions of dollars to put on mailers to fool voters into believing that they were conservative. So here's what I would say is, go on X, go on Facebook, find the email, phone numbers. Ask them a specific question. Don't ask them if they support President Trump, because they're all going to say yes. Ask them a specific question if they're in the Texas House. Find your state rep, find the Republican that represents you, and ask them this publicly on social media, at a town hall. Ask them this question: what did you do this session to publicly stand up to the corrupt, failed leadership in the Texas House? And what we can do is we've got to get more people down here that are willing to be unpopular in the swamp. And this guy, this fake speaker, we've known he was a Democrat plant since day one. But when I made the motion to vacate,
No one stood
Just
up
his
with you.
neighbor.
Yeah.
Only one person supported it.
How about this for inspiration? Jasmine Crockett is at the top of the Democrat world as it stands right now. This is just her second term in the House. Before that, she was a state representative with no name recognition, no real money behind her, nothing. If Jasmine Crockett can do it, maybe you can too. Maybe some of the people listening right now should themselves run for office. Maybe you've been successful in business and you need to put that on hold, even though it's not going to be the best thing for you financially. It's the right thing to do for this state. And God knows we need you. I think one of our problems is we need better candidates to step up, more candidates to step up. A lot of guys who think, well, that's not what I want to do with my life, or I'm not interested in power. You're the exact guy we need.
No, we need people. In fact, the people we need the most are the people who want it the least. The problem is we've got guys, their entire identity is in being called the honorable representative and getting a fancy lapel pin and tie clips. And that's then the cocktail hour.
They love that. But for some of us, for a lot of people, myself included, I don't want that job. I don't get any kind of enjoyment on telling people what to do or how they should live their life or controlling other people's money. Right. And you have to be, I don't want to just throw out sociopath too much or narcissist or whatever. But the Democrat process attracts all the wrong kinds of people. And some people are going to have to step out of their comfort zone and step up this next time around. Brian Harrison, thank you so much for all your help. Help me get that list out. And we'll touch base at the end of the session and get hot again in the primaries.
Thank you. I'd love to be with you. Even though you say I'm your least favorite guest, it hurts my feelings so much. but we've got here. But let me tell you, thank you, James. Let's keep it up. But thank you for bringing transparency to the swamp. We've got to make Texas again. We've got to make Texas the leader, not just in America for freedom and liberty, but Texas should be the beacon of freedom for the entire planet. We're not doing that right now. But I think the more people's eyes are open to the corruption in the Austin swamp, that's going to be the fastest way to get our state back on track. And I appreciate everything you're doing, my brother, on that.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you, Brian Harrison.
Take care. God bless you. God bless Texas.
Coming up next, we'll talk with Brandon Waltons of Texas Scorecard. More Texas-themed news just outside of the political realm coming up next. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. Happy Friday. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. My next guest is Brandon Waltons from Texas Scorecard. Now, Texas Scorecard, their reporting came up heavily in the first hour of the show. Welcome back, Brandon. The reporting from your website featured heavily in the first hour of the show because there was a local teacher here who shared some indecent material with children. She's a substitute teacher in Kennedale. And I was putting that together with some other stories from the Texas Scorecard about 4 other teachers or somehow public school employees. One was like an IT department guy. One was a school resource officer who just this week had gotten in trouble for improper behavior around students or with students. And then I go to check your website just right before the segment starts, just to see if they've updated anything since the show started. Brandon Walton's got a pretty dynamic site. And there are 2 more stories of teachers by Aaron Anderson. In Brownsville, a teacher and coach is arrested for a sexual relationship with a student. And then in Harlingen, a high school head soccer coach accused of sending porn to a child. And I was already pulling my hair out at the beginning of the show saying it's an epidemic, and it's even worse before the show's over.
Yeah, I mean, the stories keep coming. There is a little bit of a silver lining, though, actually. Mitch Little, a freshman state representative from up in the Denton-Louisville area, actually just passed a bill this week that would actually remove the sovereign immunity that public schools have whenever these incidents happen, which is pretty big. I mean, right now it's really hard for families. If a school knows or tries to cover up one of these incidents, there's not a lot of recourse for a family of a victim. And then if this actually gets passed into law, it's been sent over to the Senate, this would allow families to be able to sue the schools for putting kids in those situations.
Okay. Any chance this could pass? Because I know the House finished their session yesterday. We talked to Brian Harrison about it for 2 segments. They look like they're done.
They've certainly done with their House bill. So for the next couple of weeks, I guess a little less than a couple of weeks now, they can only act on bills that have come over from the Senate. Now, there's obviously plenty of those. The Senate got to work very early in the session. And so there's a lot of work the House could potentially do if they want to in the next couple of weeks. We'll see. But as far as the bill by Mitch Little for dealing with these public school employees, that's over in the Senate now. I think there might already be a committee hearing scheduled, so it looks like it's getting some pretty fast attention, and hopefully we'll make it to the governor's desk soon.
Also on TexasScorecard.com, I'm interested in this story on the Texas lottery maybe circling the drain. Mm-hmm. Now, they're not going to cancel it outright, but they're trying to make some moves that kind of sound like they're thinking about winding it down.
Yeah, so this comes after a couple of scandals dealing with these potentially rigged $83 million, $95 million jackpots. There's been a Texas Rangers investigation. You've had Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, a number of folks looking into the lottery this session. And now you have the Texas Senate unanimously, which is pretty amazing, unanimously passing legislation to actually end the Lottery Commission. That's the group that oversees the lottery. And it would instead move it over for a 2-year trial period to the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. It's a different state agency that obviously has a more broad overseeing power of state programs. And this would be a 2-year program. So if it doesn't work there, then they could cancel it. They could end the lottery entirely in 2 years.
All right, let's talk about some of the shenanigans around elections in Texas. I was interested in this Gillespie County GOP resolves to hand count votes and ban countywide polling in the primaries. And I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'm interested to see how many of these independent jurisdictions are trying different tweaks to their election protocols.
It'll be interesting to see. Gillespie was really on the cutting edge of doing hand counting this last primary cycle. So last year's primaries, Gillespie County, and that's, for folks who don't know what that is, that's like Fredericksburg out there in the hill country. They were doing hand counting last primary. By all accounts, from people who did it, there were maybe a couple learning curves here or there, but by and large, they got their results out pretty quickly and were successful with it. Now I think you're going to see a number of other local parties who have jurisdiction over how they do their primaries say, okay, we want to lead by example. We're going to be doing, we want to do hand counting. We want to change the way, and really go in line with what President Donald Trump has said, right? Which is, he wants to see hand counting. He wants to see same-day election results. He wants to see a number of these election integrity measures that right now are largely left up to the individual counties and cities in Texas.
All right. Well, good stuff. Brandon Walton's TexasScorecard.com. I'm a big fan of your work. And for people listening, I highly recommend you sign up for the newsletter, the Texas Minute. It's good stuff. It's part of the James Show preparation routine every day. So thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next, there's, if you follow the paradigm of your life that everything Trump does is bad and evil and the worst, every once in a while, you're going to be forced to complain about things that just sound silly. Coming up next, you'll hear Elizabeth Warren and House of Representatives member Yasamin Ansari complaining about just some real nitpicky stuff that Trump has done. And it almost feels like you're being picked on by your little brother. You'll hear the fun next coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, happy Friday. Welcome back to the James Show. I'm your host, James Parker, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. We'll be broadcasting live on Monday from the Mullen & Mullen Golf Classic. Las Colinas Country Club, come on out. You don't have to be in the tournament. Just come on out, do a little day drinking, say hi, take a selfie. Judge me based on my appearance. It'll be a good time. More information, mullenandmullen.com. Or there's a nice little rundown on the ticket.com as well. Elizabeth Warren, trying to get in the news. Didn't really make big headlines, but I want to play it for you because I think you'll get a kick out of it. She is in this camp, and we know these people. They exist on both sides of the aisle, the hacks. And when I say hack, I mean everything that your party does is good and everything that the other party does is bad. And if your whole worldview is that reductive and that simple, then you're just not a critical thinker. You're a hack. So in this one, in today's edition of Whatever Donald Trump's Doing is Bad, Elizabeth Warren shows up, and she is not too happy with some of the cuts that were made in government. So it was, not now, we'll do that in a little bit. And for this one, this fits the pattern you hear so many times of judging a project by its intentions. Not whether or not it's constitutional, not whether or not it should be done by government, or not even based on its results, just by the intentions. And if it has good intention, I know, Elizabeth Warren, Indian attack, haha, I got it. But in this soundbite, she's talking about the LGBT suicide hotline being clipped. Check this out.
A leaked document revealed that Trump wants to cut funding for the 988 LGBTQ plus suicide and crisis hotline for kids. I'll say it again. They want to cut a suicide and crisis hotline that helps kids. This is a terrible decision that would cost lives. And this is not Trump's first attack on the LGBTQ plus community. Make no mistake, it won't be his last.
Oh, it's an attack now?
Each and every attack tries to chip away at the foundations of our country, our Constitution, and the promise of equal rights. We have to stand up and stop them. So, to all my LGBTQ plus friends and neighbors, we will never, ever stop fighting for you.
All right, now let's...
That's right.
This is so exhausting. Is there anything you're willing to cut out of the government? An LGBT suicide hotline for children. Well, what if a straight kid calls? Do you hang up on them? Do you tell them to F off? Do you tell them to pull the trigger? It's so silly. And I'm not saying like I am indifferent to the suffering of LGBTQ kids, but how is that government's job? Even if it is government's job, how is this a federal issue and not a state issue? This couldn't be done at the state or local issue. And I mean, I don't think it should be. But not everything that's a good idea has to be done through the federal government. Not everything that's a good idea has to be done through government at all. What about adult LGBT suicide? Y'all just hang up on them too? So if you're a straight kid, straight adult, or gay adult, no help for you. But if you're a gay child thinking about suicide, we have this one specific program. Did it work? Has it been working? And if it is important, and it might be very important, can't you just fund it through private measures? Can't you just fund it through regular old fundraisers like pretty much most nonprofits and charitable organizations? If there's a demand for it, if society thinks that this is so important, they will step up and make sure this happens. Why does it have to be forcibly applied through the federal government? Because it sounds good? I think one of my more powerful comparisons here is puppies. Let's take out the controversial part, LGBTQ kids or whatever, or suicide or whatever. This is all a touchy subject. Everyone agrees puppies are great. Kids having puppies is great. Should we have a national program at the DC level where we buy puppies and hand them out to little kids? No, sounds a little silly, right? A little superfluous. Not exactly a primary function of government as the founding fathers intended. And you know what they intended. Article 1, Section 8 has the list of everything the federal government was envisioned of doing by the founding fathers. Puppies isn't in there. Gay children suicide isn't in there. There's just regular things, coin money, make courts. But nothing about this, nothing about puppies. So if I don't want to have a federal program to give puppies to little children, does that make me anti-puppy? Does that make me against children having puppies? Do you hate puppies if you oppose that program? Absolutely not. Do you hate little children if you oppose that program? Absolutely not. So why does it mean that you hate gay kids, or you get accused of hating gay children, or Trump is being accused of hating gay children and not standing with them, and Elizabeth Warren will stand with them? Because we're cutting a hotline. Dude, if you can't cut that, it's like Sesame Street. If you can't cut Elmo, then you're just not serious about cutting government. You just don't want to cut anything. The other one is Yasemin Ansari. She's a House of Representatives. She's, I think she's of Persian descent somewhere. But she has got a rash about Trump's plan to rename the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Arabia, and that's just not going to stand. You don't have to oppose everything.
I rise today to call out and condemn Donald Trump's astounding corruption. Just last week, he signaled that he would change the name of the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Gulf.
How is this astounding
corruption? And
corruption?
today, he arrived in the Middle East, where he is expected to accept a $400 million luxury 747 from Qatar to replace Air Force One. From attempting to rename the Persian Gulf to accepting luxury airplanes as unprecedented personal gifts, Donald Trump would rather waste time on ridiculous political stunts designed to curry favor with foreign governments and line his own pockets than to address the issues affecting the American people.
How does this line his own pocket? Are they offering the $400 million, the Qataris, are they offering the $400 million plane as a quid pro quo for renaming the Gulf of the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Arabia? Absolutely not. Is she just conflating these two things with no evidence? It looks like it. And she says he's just grandstanding to get attention on this issue that doesn't help anybody. So are you. Maintaining the name of that Gulf doesn't help any of your constituents. It doesn't help one voter in America, one citizen of America. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything about anybody's foreign policy. It's kind of like a thumb in the eye of the Persians, but whoop-de-doo, you don't represent them, and we're not really concerned about their feelings here, are we? Why can't you just see this as something that uplifts the Arabians rather than slights the Persians, or at least it's a nice balance of the two? No, some people just go through life, and whatever Orange Man says is bad. Orange Man bad. Got it. Coming up next, a new documentary exposes just how corrupt media censorship has become. Find out where the American Jewish conservatives are hosting a Dallas premiere this weekend. Next, Benji Gershon, president of American Jewish Conservatives, coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. My next guest comes to you from the American Jewish Conservatives, formerly the Dallas Jewish Conservatives, but they have gone nationwide. And a lot of it's because they keep holding great events like the one coming up this weekend. Tell me about this documentary you guys are having the Dallas premiere for, Benji.
Yeah, thanks for having me, James. We have this Dallas premiere of the movie called Follow the Silenced, which actually won the best movie at the Santa Monica International Film Festival, as well as the best director award as well. And it's Mickey Willis is the filmmaker behind it. He's the guy behind the Plandemic series films, which have been phenomenal. And this documentary is really exposing the corruption of big pharma and government authorities during the COVID-19 pandemic, and the cover-up of a lot of findings, scientific findings, medical findings that were not exposed at that time due to the vaccines, as well as a lot of vaccine injuries that real people experience that change their lives forever. So it's a powerful film. It's very impactful. It's going to kind of uncover a lot of things that a lot of people don't know that Big Pharma and the media tried to cover up. And will be followed by a panel discussion and Q&A after the movie as well with the producer, director, and editor of the film.
Well, that's so cool. So this is the Dallas premiere. This movie isn't out yet?
It just had the Austin premiere in Austin for the world premiere, and we're doing the first premiere here in Dallas. And then hopefully their goal is to have this being shown in other theaters across the country and other cities.
Who needs to see this movie?
Everybody. I mean, it's really not a political thing. You don't have to be a Republican or Democrat to take something away from this film. This is a film about truth. It's real lives that were impacted on all sides of the aisle politically. It doesn't matter. You know, the pandemic affected people. It doesn't matter where, what part of life they're from or what their background is. So this is really for everybody to come see, and it's going to make you question a lot of things. It's going to make you angry, sad, but it's also uplifting at the same time. You know, at the end, some of these stories and how people have survived and continue to move forward with their lives after experiencing such hardships.
Well, I also feel like this is the kind of event people need to go to when you complain about how Hollywood is so woke or Netflix doesn't support your values, or the rest of the Hollywood movie industry shouldn't be getting millions of dollars from the Texas taxpayers because they're anathema to our values. Well, here is actually a movie that supports your values. You should probably go support it if you're already not occupied on Sunday.
Absolutely. You go to AmericanJewishConservatives.com. That's where you can get tickets. General admission's $18. VIP is $36. And there's going to be a VIP meet and greet with the entire director, cast, and crew of the film. So make sure you go to AmericanJewishConservatives.com, get your tickets for this Sunday. It's at 6 p.m. at the Angelica Theater.
Yeah, and I've gone to some of these other events where y'all hosted the debate watching party I went to, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a huge crowd for that. That was a lot of fun.
God, that was so fun because not only are you at an event where you're viewing a piece of media that doesn't insult your own society, heritage, background, and values, but you're surrounded by a bunch of other people who do. And I think there's a lot to be said for the fellowship of the like-minded, because if you just watch TV or the movies or read the newspaper, you can kind of start to get to feeling that we're the minority. But even in a somewhat blue area like Dallas, I really don't think we're the minority.
No, it's there's more and more of us that are coming forward that are saying enough's enough. We need to wear our politics on our sleeve, wear our true values and principles on our sleeve, and not be afraid to step out of our house and get behind the screen, not just be behind the screen writing about it, but actually get out and go to events. And our events with American Jewish Conservatives. There's a lot of great networking that goes on. Like I said, after the film, there's going to be a Q&A session with the audience. So you not only don't get to just learn about a new subject or get better educated on it, but you really get to talk about it amongst fellow conservatives and like-minded people that share your values, and take something away from it that hopefully you can share with your friends and family.
And I see Don Huffine's going to be there.
Don's fantastic. Yeah, we've actually endorsed Don Huffine's, our organization, and he's a sponsor as well. So he'll make a couple minutes of remarks, and I think we'll have a couple other city council officials, elected officials that may be there. So you never know. We always have some great special guests that show up in addition to our speakers too.
Yeah, I saw Huffines at your event at the Frontiers of Flight Museum last year. What a great speaker he is. Well, you guys always put together a good party. Let me know when the next one is. But for this one, May 18th, this Sunday, Angelica Film Center, the Dallas premiere of the movie Silenced. Thank you very much, Benji Gershon. Appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's a good crew over there. AmericanJewishConservatives.com. If sounds like something you'd be interested in. I know they throw together good parties. All right, coming up next, more James Show, where you're going to hear Bill Maher's brutal takedown of critics who oppose the South African refugees coming up next. I like it. Team Blue on Team Blue fighting. Also, the James Parker Show will be live this Monday for the Friends of Mullen & Mullen Law Firm Charity Golf Tournament, Las Colinas Country Club, helping local charities like Scottish Rite, Urban Boarding Experience, At Last, and more. For more info, mullenandmullen.com, and we'll be doing the show there live. You can come say hi, take a picture, whatever, from 2 to 5 at the Las Colinas Country Club on Monday. Bill Maher, next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Happy Friday, fellow Texans. You're listening to The James Show. I'm your host, James Parker. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. The South African refugee story is, a story among itself, but now I'm interested in the response to the South African refugees more so than the plight and the original story that brought it up. Because, similar to what I was doing a couple segments ago where we were making fun of Elizabeth Warren and Yasemin Ansari for just opposing everything Trump does. It gets to a ridiculous point if you're that hacky. Well, on this one, when you have Bill Maher cutting you down with a machete in an internecine Team Blue squabble, maybe you should reevaluate your position. Bill Maher is not Team Red. Bill Maher is not a Trump turd. Bill Maher is a guy who calls himself a liberal, spent a whole life supporting Democrats, and when he thinks you're off your rocker, it means something more than if I say it. So let me give you just a clip of some of the coverage of the South African refugees from MSNBC to give you an idea. I don't know who he's specifically countering here in his commentary on HBO, but it's probably something similar to this, if not this exact same segment itself.
Trump has virtually halted refugee admission in America for people fleeing war and famine in places like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Back with Rick, Mark, and Eddie. Rick Stengel.
Yes, it's so deeply and morally wrong-headed and repulsive. These are the descendants of the people who created the most diabolical system of white supremacy in human history, apartheid. For these folks who have never had anything happen to them. And Trump amazingly called it a genocide, one of the worst lies I've ever heard him say. There's just been a small handful of farmers that have been killed over the past 10 years. No land has actually been expropriated. So it's just a farce and a sham and a moral ugliness.
Okay, and so with that response, I already know what you're thinking. You probably already heard what I thought on this. But let's go to Bill Maher and see his reaction to this, because I thought this was killer, especially considering that the guy that asked Trump about it in the White House press corps when he was doing some signing ceremony, he brought up two specific countries. And then when it was brought up again on TV on, what was that, The View, they brought up two specific countries. And then here, same two countries were brought up. So Central African Republic and the Sudan. The Sudan, we don't need to be taking in Sudanese refugees. You realize they had to split off the bottom of Sudan and create a whole new country, South Sudan, because the Sudanese kept chopping their heads off. And it was a religious persecution. It was the Sudanese Arab Muslims in the north persecuting the few million Christians in the south. And they happen to be Nilotic. They're black Christians. And so here we're taking the sides of the black Christians over the Sudanese Arab Muslims in that conflict. Do we need to be taking in the head choppers? But let's not get too much in the weeds to that. I love Bill Maher's response.
Yasmin Mohammed is a human rights activist who got married off to a Muslim man with fundamentalist views about women, not exactly uncommon in the Muslim world. He forced her to wear the niqab all the time, including once beating her because she took her hijab off at home because the apartment had a window through which people might see in. And this was in Vancouver. Here's what Yasmin said about veiling. It just suppresses your humanity entirely. It's like a portable sensory deprivation chamber, and you are no longer connected to humanity. You can't see properly. You can't hear properly. You can't speak properly. People can't see you. You can only see them. Just little things, passing people on the street and just making eye contact and smiling, that's gone. You're no longer part of this world, and so you very quickly just shrivel up into nothing under there. Kids, if you really want to change the world and not just tie up Monday morning traffic, this is the apartheid that desperately needs your attention, gender apartheid. This is what should be the social justice issue of your time. How about from the river to the sea, every woman shall be free? But in
See, now I love that because his audience applauds too. So there's a market for that over there on Team Blue. Isn't that one of the most confounding double standards about how you get accused of being a part of the patriarchy or oppressing women or mansplaining or somehow, slighting women or being. Meanwhile, they just completely overlook actual oppression of women, and it's systemic. In any country where the Muslims are a majority and they have the reins of power, women do not have their full complement of human rights. Not a whole lot of condemnation there, though, huh? We just have a problem with the Christian South Africans coming over. That's terrible. And by the way, apartheid is not the most vile form of white supremacy in history. Democrat Party displaced more people, killed more people, actually enslaved people for a much longer period of time. They did all the segregation, too. They did all the Jim Crow stuff, too. And they did it for 200 years. Apartheid was only around for 50, 70 years, depending on when you start the clock. I would also say the Leopold II's treatment of the Belgian Congo was probably a worse form of white supremacy than apartheid, too. But no one remembers that because it was so long ago and they don't teach you that stuff quite easily in public schools. Coming up next, this is a cool little story. I'm honored that the fastest growing city in all of America, right here in North Texas, and you will hear from their mayor next. What is the secret of Princeton, Texas? That's coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there. Happy Friday. Welcome to the James Show, fellow Texans. I am your host, James Parker. And kind of cool news that the fastest growing city in all of America is just a little bit north of where we're broadcasted right now. If you go up 75, take a right, you will be in Princeton. And what is the secret of their success? Let's ask Mayor Eugene Escobar. Welcome to the James Show. And can I do this at the same time, or will this hang up on him? Hang on, let me try that. And Jim Waymeyer, he is the CEO of the Economic Development Corporation up in Princeton. Can both you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How are you?
All right, good. No echo or anything weird. So what's the secret of your success up in Princeton, Mayor Eugene?
Well, I don't think that has been a secret. We've been rapidly growing since 2020, so I think that it's just everybody has an eye on us now. But we've been dealing with this problem since 2020, so it's not really a secret to us. This is a normal day.
All right, Jim Waymeyer, we know that you guys have had some growing pains with a residential freeze. How are you guys handling the boom?
Well, I think pretty well. Thanks for having us on. And excuse me, there's a lot of kind of misconception about the residential freeze. It's the moratorium only applies to land that doesn't already have its full entitlements. In other words, it doesn't already have its zoning in place and it's plat approved. Once they have their entitlements, they're free to continue building. And we have over 10,000 residential units ready to be built that already have their entitlements. So the moratorium is not going to slow us down. It's just giving us an opportunity to get our arms around what the next phase is going to be after this moratorium.
And what is the next phase after the moratorium? What does that look like, Mayor?
So the next phase is that right now we're taking this time, this break per se, to build what Princeton future is going to look like. So that's coming from a public safety to roadway aspects. And we are right now designing what the future of Princeton is. So I think that we're going to be going more towards a more innovative, more technology heavy, and kind of bringing the city up to 2025 and beyond.
Well, I understand why people would like to live in Princeton. You have access to the fourth biggest metropolitan area in America, but you still have somewhat of a country, or at least exurbs lifestyle. But Jim Waymeyer, how are you attracting new businesses to Princeton?
Well, and I tell you, this news that we're talking about today kind of gives us a platform to help do that, because it's really getting the word out there about the city of Princeton. And what the best way to answer the question is very purposeful. We need to be purposeful with the businesses we recruit. We need to be purposeful with the residential we do in the future. And rapid growth isn't certainly a bad thing, but it does take quite a bit of planning and being proactive as well. So we do have a number of projects in the hopper. Everything from retail, healthcare, those types of things on the horizon. We're very excited about it.
Do y'all have a Walmart?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, well, then you're fine. You're going to be absolutely fine. Well, and another concern I know, studio audience, big fan. Another concern a lot of these boom towns have is that whenever you move in, a few 100,000 people, it's going to lose its small town charm. Now, of course it is. That's the acceptable trade-off for any level of progress. But what are you guys doing, Mayor, to keep sort of the native culture of Princeton intact?
So what we're doing, we're looking at government in a different new way, right? So I think that what a lot of cities in the past who have went through these booms where they didn't capture is like, how do we communicate with the residents better? How do we keep them involved? So I believe keeping our small town charm and our family feel here is by finding new ways to keep residents involved in every decision that we make moving forward. So we're going through a few different programs right now where we have a lot of residents interested, and we're going to find a way to connect to the residents to where they are. So I think that once we get these systems built and put in place, we'll still be able to capture that feel.
So I don't expect the boom to die down anytime soon, but do y'all see sort of a vision of where this will max out, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if we're not looking at a city of 150,000 plus. We were named fastest growing in America with a population of 37,000. We're significantly north of that now. We're in the mid 40s. And so we won that honor about 7,000 short of what our actual population is. And another thing we're doing to really keep that hometown charm is we're focusing on the families. Yes, we've got all this growth. Princeton in the last couple of years passed a $109 million parks bond. We're developing parks that are unlike anything anybody's ever seen, not only in North Texas, but not anywhere in Texas, I don't believe. We're really doing some state-of-the-art stuff. And to the mayor's point earlier, really focused on technology. I mean, yes, we're creating ball fields. Yes, we're creating picnic areas for families and hike and bike trails. But we're also incorporating significant technology in some of our parks that are going to be really second to none. It's very exciting.
Well, it sounds like you're doing great up there. Congratulations on the honor of being the fastest growing city in America. I wish you guys good luck up there. Mayor Eugene Escobar and Jim Waymeyer, thanks for being on the James Show.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Now remember, Princeton people, what radio station loves you the most? WBAP. Don't forget us. Coming up next, we're doing Name That Artist. Now, today's category is Robert. It's the Rob edition. What does that mean, James? Every guy you're going to hear singing in the montage, his name's Robert. That might not be the name of the band, but it's at least the name of the lead singer, or Rob or Bob or something. And the reason we're doing the Robert edition today is the gift, the prize on today's Name That Artist is 2 tickets to see Rob Thomas at the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory coming up August 29th. Yeah. Get tickets now at livenation.com, or if you want to try and win some tickets on Name That Artist, call in 800-288-9227. I'll play the montage now. It's just 2 minutes. Can you name these 10 Robs?
Every step I take, you will be there. Every step I make, be together. Every step. Monday you can fall apart. Tuesday, Wednesday break my heart. Oh, Thursday doesn't even start. It's Friday, I'm in love. A complete unknown, like a rolling stone. Under the ice and snow, from the midnight sun to the hot springs below. I think I'm going to Kathmandu. That's really, really where I'm going to. If I ever get out of here, that's where I'm gonna do. Closer to the truth to say you can't get enough. You know you're gonna have to face the truth. To the signs. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. Because I wanna be a cowboy, baby, with a top left back and the sunshine shining. Cowboy, baby, West Coast chillin' with the blues. I wanna be a cowboy, baby. Yeah, yeah, more human than human, more human than human, more human than human, more human than human. And her voice says strange, she says, baby, it's 3 a.m., I must be lonely.
All right, so there's your montage. If you want to win some Rob Thomas tickets, call right now, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. After the break, I will play the montage again. I want you to get out a piece of paper, a notepad, file in your phone, and write it all down, because I'm not going to come to you and you're just going to say Robert 10 times. You have to say the name of the band or his last name or something to that effect. But name that artist. The exciting conclusion. Find out who the 10 Robs were coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM. WBAP. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker, and you're just in time for a James Show game show. Name that artist. This is the harder of the game shows. And this one, though, is we got good tickets this week. Rob Thomas. How you like that? He's going to be playing at the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory up the street in Irving on August 29th. For the rest of us, we can get tickets at livenation.com, but I'm going to give away a pair on Name That Artist right now. Today's edition is the Robert edition. Now, the phones are full, so don't even bother calling, but you can play along in your car. Can you name these 10 Roberts or the band that Robert's singing for, whatever?
Every little step I take, you will be there. Every little step I make, we together. Every little step. Monday you can fall apart. Tuesday, Wednesday break my heart. Oh, Thursday doesn't even start. It's Friday, I'm in love. A complete unknown, like a rolling stone. Under the ice and snow, from the midnight sun to the hot spring glow. I think I'm going to Kathmandu. That's really, really where I'm going to. If I ever get out of here, that's where I'm gonna do. Closer to the truth to say you can't get enough of knowing you're gonna have to face the truth. To love you see the same. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. Because I wanna be a cowboy, baby, with a top left back and the sunshine shining. Cowboy, baby, West Coast chillin' with the blues. I wanna be a cowboy, baby. Yeah, yeah, more human than human, more human than human, more human than human, more human than human. And her voice says strange, she says, baby, it's 3 a.m., I must be lonely.
All right, what do you think? Robert edition of Name That Artist. Do you have all 10? Let's start with, is this Patty in Plano? You're ready for Name That
Okay.
Artist? You got the whole
Names?
list?
I think there's only one I don't know.
Well, then do you want to give everyone else the answers, the other 9, or do you want to hang on?
Yeah.
You do? Well, if you don't have it all.
I know 9 of them for sure, without a doubt.
Hang on.
There's only one I don't know. It's that weird.
Well,
song
don't give it
that's
away. Don't
right.
give it away. Don't give it away. Don't give it away. Hang on. What about you, Tracy? Do you know all 10? Tracy and Wiley?
I have all 10.
Oh.
I do. I got them.
All right. Well, let's hear it then. I'll let you go.
Okay.
Go.
Bobby Brown, maybe?
Yes.
I hope.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
you're right.
The Cure,
Yeah, Robert Smith, the lead singer of The Cure. There you go.
Bob Dylan.
Yes, real name Robert Zimmerman, but Bob works too.
Okay. Led Zeppelin,
Lead singer Robert Plant.
Robert Plant.
You get that, Garrett? Garrett didn't know that one. Anyway, go ahead.
Bob Seger,
Yep.
Robert Palmer,
No explanation needed there. Yeah.
I can't read my handwriting. Bob Marley,
Bob Marley. Yes. No Woman, No Cry. Go ahead.
Kid Rock,
Real name Robert Ritchie.
White Zombie,
Lead singer's Rob Zombie or Robert something. It's probably not Zombie, but
and Matchbox 20 with Rob Thomas.
yeah. See what I did there? Because we're giving away tickets to Rob Thomas. All right. Well, Tracy and Patty already hung up. She's tired of you taking her tickets there. Tracy, you're our big winner. Can you actually make it out August 29th, Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory in Irving?
Yeah, we can.
All right. Well, then the tickets are yours. I'm going to put you on hold. Garrett will get you information. We email you the tickets because it's not 1995 anymore. And that has been today's edition of Name That Artist, the Robert edition. We can't do that with a whole lot of names. We should probably try and do a James edition sometimes. But I don't know. Are we ever giving away James tickets? Coming up next on the James Show, there is some rumors. Some people are thinking about, and when I say people, I mean Donald Trump, is thinking about pardoning Derek Chauvin. Now, it's sparked quite a controversy online, also in the halls of Congress between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jasmine Crockett. That's a fun back and forth. But I'm going to ask you, forget what they say. What do you think? Do you think Derek Chauvin should be pardoned in the killing of George Floyd? He was the cop that got sent to prison for murdering George Floyd. My answer is, of course, and I'll make my case next. The big question is, do you agree? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there. Happy Friday. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, before you get out of here and start your weekend, there's one thing that is kind of bubbling under the surface that will probably be something big we have to talk about next week if this actually comes to pass. But we have learned that Trump is considering pardoning Derek Chauvin. If that name doesn't already ring a bell, he's the cop who went to prison for the murder of George Floyd, and a lot of people don't think that that was much of a murder. Now, the toxicology report seems to be the piece of evidence that a lot of people are hinging on who thinks Derek Chauvin didn't get a fair shake when it came to the death of George Floyd. And the case is pretty easy to do a little research on yourself. You don't have to be a lawyer to see the toxicology report yourself and then go, look, well, this amount of fentanyl that's in a system and norfentanyl, whatever that is, a metabolite, that's above what it takes for someone of his weight to overdose. Now, he also had some other fun stuff in his system. Some meth was in his system. Weed was in his system. Codeine, which is a metabolite of nicotine. So, I mean, on top of all that, he smoked cigarettes. Oh, my God. I don't even know why they test for that. Why are y'all tested for smokes? Now, I don't think the Lucky Strikes killed him. I think maybe the fentanyl. And look, there's a case to be made over the heart attack that was could be largely induced by drug overdose, could have been triggered by the extra stressors on Derek Chauvin. And so even I think in the worst case scenario, you're looking at is what's a manslaughter. And I don't know which category, involuntary manslaughter, reckless manslaughter, whatever, second degree. I don't know. I don't even know what all the classifications are. But it sure as hell didn't look like murder to me. Number one, the overdose is just the killing factor right there. But also, if you go back and you look at the video, George Floyd was saying, I can't breathe before he was ever put on the ground. He was saying, I can't breathe when the cops stood him up. He was standing outside of the car. He was saying, I can't breathe when they sat him in the police car. He was still saying, I can't breathe. And so the whole I can't breathe stuff wasn't predicated on Derek Chauvin's knee being in his back. It was something that happened beforehand. So we don't have to go back and litigate the case. But just rest assured that if this guy is pardoned, there's going to be trouble. It's going to be a big story. We may be looking at riots again. Because remember, George Floyd is why all the riots happened in 2020, all the way into 2021 almost. It was like 8 months of fun for that. Are we going to get riots again? Because if you look at the evidence of the case, you start to wonder, well, why did they convict this guy of murder? It sure as hell doesn't look like murder, much less premeditated murder. And a logical conclusion, a lot of people have thought this is where I stand too. The jury did not want to cause more buildings to magically catch fire in neighborhoods all across America. There's a certain level of intimidation that comes with that ill behavior. In fact, that's the point of the ill behavior. Their movement is not help. BLM, Antifa, whatever flavor of Team Blue is out there setting crap on fire. They're not doing that because setting this business on fire helps people understand the nuance and the intricacies and the evidence of the George Floyd case. It is meant as an intimidation tactic in order for them to get the result that they prefer in court, whether or not the evidence supports it. And you know what? It worked. In fact, it works a lot. There's a lot of things that we do on a macro society level, even on a micro individual level, where we do the wrong thing or we sacrifice the right thing in order to just take the easy road. Well, that may be what's easiest for the jury. That may be what's easiest for the community of Minneapolis or any other place that doesn't want to get burned down again. But that's not really fair to Derek Chauvin now, is it? So I hope he gets pardoned. I think he's going to get pardoned. And even for what he did do, worst case scenario, involuntary manslaughter or some form of manslaughter, this guy's already been in prison long enough to account for whatever wrongdoing he may be guilty of. He's already gotten attacked in prison. He got stabbed in prison for this lie. How much suffering does he need to do? Can you tell me a case where the roles are reversed, where you had this kind of response? Absolutely not. So just like Frisco allowing Carmelo Anthony to graduate, breaking the rules to allow him to graduate, that was done out of cowardice. Not because they're racist or anti-racist or they're probably indifferent to racism. They just don't want the smoke. But you can't ruin a guy's life just because you don't want smoke. That's wrong. Sometimes you have to face negative consequences for doing the right thing simply because it's the right thing. So, yeah, Derek Chauvin should be pardoned. I hope he gets pardoned. And I hope after he gets pardoned, if they have another series of hissy fits, that we don't just let these people out, just get them out on bond the next day and drop all their charges and whatnot. I think they should all be held to account, just like the January 6ers were held to account, because that's my new playbook for going forward. Next time there's a riot of any kind, I want the rioters to be treated just like the January 6ers, because we learned that that's how you're supposed to treat rioters, right? So this will be fun. I can't wait for that to happen. It'll probably happen, or I hope it'll happen next week. All right, come on out. We will be broadcasting live. The James Show is going on the road, and so Monday I will be at the Mullen and Mullen Golf Tournament at the Las Colinas Country Club. So you can come on out, say hi, meet me, take a picture or a selfie, hang out on the breaks. We can chat, and you get to cut out of work. Golf course is beautiful. Golf tournaments are always a fun party. And you can come share it with me. Monday, we'll be live 2 to 5, Las Colinas Country Club for the Mullen and Mullen Golf Tournament. All right, you go out there. Have a good weekend. If you need more James Show, in the meantime, the James Show podcast lives on WBAP.com, WBAP app, wherever you're already listening to podcasts. Just look for it. Find it. Go find the Rhino list. I had posted it on the WBAP Facebook feed today, and help us share that out so we don't have to go through another basket case of a Texas legislative session after the next primary cycle. And Mark Levin's coming up next, so stay put. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.